Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about Marvel's 2004 to 2005 event, Secret War. This particular story holds a very special place in my heart because its graphic novel, specifically this graphic novel, this actual copy, is one of the first graphic novels I ever bought. I got this when I was probably like 12 or 13 or something like that, and I've had it all this time. So I can't wait to talk about this story and share with you why it holds a special place in my heart. In my opinion, it's an excellent use of post-2001 American politics and the country's history with foreign policy since World War II. This is one of the better comics written by Brian Michael Bendis out there, in my opinion. And paired with Gabriele Dell'Otto's phenomenal paintings, this is a real treat of a comic that makes clever use of Marvel history in telling its story. I really enjoyed this particular iteration of Secret Wars. This is by far the darkest, most grounded, and most political of those stories. But there is a lot of payoff to that as well. Because of all this, there's the most to talk about in this story compared to the other more fantasy-heavy Secret Wars, at least in my opinion, and certainly from a more political angle. Before we get into things further, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more comic-based reviews. In Harlem, Luke Cage and Jessica Jones return home with some groceries, when they are alarmed to discover a woman waiting for them. Luke asks if she knows just how big of a mistake she's made coming here, but the woman, whose eye begins to glow, says she knows exactly where she is, and who they are. High in the sky, aboard the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, Nick Fury is briefed on the events of the world. One of his agents mentions the incident in Harlem, and Nick takes special note that Luke Cage is now in a coma because of the attack. To the surprise of his men, Fury leaves immediately to visit. There he is greeted by Danny Rand, the Iron Fist, and Jessica Jones, who was also injured by the attack. Luke, however, is in far worse condition. He has suffered internal injuries, but the doctors are struggling to help due to the man's impenetrable skin. While Danny explains all of this, Jessica deduces that Nick Fury isn't just showing up, and that he must know something about this attack or else he wouldn't be here. 1 year ago, S.H.I.E.L.D. was faced with an interesting dilemma. For years, supercriminals have shown up on American soil with advanced tech far beyond their capabilities. They started to notice something else, too. A villain like Jack-O-Lantern might rob a bank containing $11,000 using technology that cost $750 million. As they looked further into this imbalance, they saw this pattern happening again and again. And Nick Fury came to understand that at some point, these were no longer criminals who put some crazy tech together and were looking to make a quick buck, but terrorists acting on behalf of some foreign agent. Thanks to Natasha Romanov, also known as the Black Widow, S.H.I.E.L.D. learned that most of its technology could be traced to a man known as the Tinkerer, who they had already figured out was giving away this technology to various criminals. What they didn't know is that the Tinkerer had been working for and was funded by Lucia von Bardas, the elected Prime Minister of Latveria. This posed a problem for many reasons. Aside from the obvious villain attacks, Lucia, unlike Dr. Doom, had a very public tie to the American government, which had given her millions of dollars and supported her election. So when Nick Fury wanted to retaliate against Latveria, his request was denied by the American president, who wanted to maintain public relations and avoid any embarrassment for the country. This infuriated Nick Fury, who felt, once again, the government was being warned of an imminent attack and was doing nothing. The head of S.H.I.E.L.D. refused to let innocent people die like that, not again. One of his agents asked what Fury planned on doing about all of this. In the present day, Nick Fury still hasn't answered Jessica, but one thing is very clear. This is all his fault. Hey everyone! Today we are back to talk about a Marvel miniseries from the early 2000s named Secret War. Where we had last left things, Luke Cage was attacked by a mysterious woman in his own home and is now in a coma. It all appears to have something to do with a mission Nick Fury pioneered 5 years ago after learning a number of supervillains got their technology from what was supposed to be a new ally of the United States, the country of Latveria. The nation is no longer run by Dr. Doom, and instead a new prime minister the American government helped bring into power. So when this news emerged, Nick Fury was ordered not to pursue the matter any further, lest the USA face some sort of political blowback. This was unacceptable to Nick Fury, and now we're going to go over his plans in response. And at the end of this video, we'll get into the consequences of that response. Before we get any further, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more recaps of comic books, new and old. Now let's begin. A year in the past, Captain America was approached by Nick Fury. The S.H.I.E.L.D. spy master said he needed Captain America's help, but not the Avengers, or even S.H.I.E.L.D. itself could be involved in this mission. Instead, Fury needed them to do something secret, and Cap makes for the perfect distraction. Matt Murdock, also known as the Daredevil, is approached by Nick Fury under similar circumstances. He is chosen because of his incredible skill in covert ops, but also, Nick's agent Black Widow can easily manipulate Matt into doing just about anything. Luke Cage, Spider-Man, and Wolverine are all also chosen, as each fit the mission at hand. Luke is powerful, but also patriotic, willing to do his duty as an American. Peter Parker, though publicly unpopular as Spider-Man, will do pretty much anything Nick Fury says, and has the sort of abilities they will need. Finally, Nick Fury considers Logan his ultimate secret weapon. The Wolverine owes Nick Fury a great deal of favors and is utterly ruthless when it comes to completing these sort of missions. All of these superheroes are asked to board a plane to Latveria, with few details given beyond that. On the plane, a woman none of the other heroes know watches them with curiosity. When they arrive at Latveria, Matt Murdock is dismayed to be greeted by another contact of Nick Fury, Natasha Romanov, also known as the Black Widow. Captain America is led away by the Latverian ambassador, as he cannot possibly hide while traveling so publicly, but Natasha tells the others to quietly follow her. Logan notices a strange woman from the plane following them, and when he tells her to leave, she explains she is part of this mission too, much to everyone else's surprise, including Black Widow. All the stranger says about herself is that if they were supposed to know who she is, they would have, and tells them nothing more. Black Widow takes the group to a home protected by any surveillance equipment, and the group is greeted by a disguised Nick Fury. He explains the situation in Latveria and what they're doing with supervillains in America, much to the superheroes' alarm. So Peter asks what Nick Fury is planning to do about all of this. The agent replies they are here to overthrow the Latverian government. A year later, Captain America bursts into Luke Cage's hospital. He berates Nick Fury and says he knew this was going to happen. Nick, in response, tries to calm Steve Rogers down, but the Avenger only hits the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, screaming about how all of this was inevitable and lamenting what Nick Fury did to the group a year before. Spider-Man flashes back to memories he doesn't have of events that apparently happened a year ago. He sees himself in a war he doesn't remember being in. But in truth, he is on a date in the present day with Mary Jane Watson, his wife. He assumes it was all just some sort of nightmare, though can't help but shake a feeling that something is wrong. Elsewhere, Captain America calms down a bit, and Nick Fury leaves. Steve Rogers checks in on Jessica Jones, who he remembers is pregnant, then advises her and Danny to get elsewhere, to safety in the Baxter Building, bringing Luke Cage along with them. Everyone is in danger. Jessica Jones decides to call her lawyer. Matt Murdock arrives home to find Peter Parker waiting for him, asking about memories of the Secret War. Murdock is skeptical until they get a voicemail from Jessica Jones about Luke Cage. The two heroes agree to go investigate, yet as they leave Matt's apartment, they spot the attackers, low-level villains named Diamondback and Scorcher, clearly on the payroll of Latveria. The villains panic at the sight of two superheroes and manage to get away, but the experience is more than enough to convince Daredevil that something is clearly going on here. Outside of the hospital, a still irate Captain America informs Nick Fury that he too was attacked earlier today. The villains were no match for Steve Rogers, but it was enough to clue Cap into what was going on. Daredevil and Spider-Man arrive, and Cap admits to the two they were all involved in a secret war a year ago. Before they can elaborate any further, Daredevil senses something in the distance, but has trouble believing it at first. Yet it is true. An army of villains stand before them, ready to strike. At the X-Mansion, Logan too is attacked, but he notes the attackers are not interested in the X-Men, only him. Wolverine wonders just what he's gotten into this time. Meanwhile, the heroes in New York City are nearly overwhelmed, but luckily help is quick to arrive. The Fantastic Four, informed of things by those sent to the Baxter building earlier, are able to help turn the tide. Suddenly, the villains all collapse, and the woman that attacked Luke Cage appears on the field of battle. Her name was Lucia von Bardas, former Prime Minister of Latveria. She was supposed to be dead. They did this to her, and now millions will perish because of it. The villains rise up around her, unable to stop Lucia, who was shielded from the attacking heroes. Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four is able to deduce that Lucia has used these villains to create a bomb. His wife, Sue Storm, begins to protect the others with her force fields, while Captain America orders the heroes to start attacking the now helpless villains, in a hope of breaking the chain reaction unfolding in front of them. 6 hours later, the woman who was part of the Secret War, revealed to be named Daisy Johnson, codenamed Quake, is debriefed by angry S.H.I.E.L.D. workers. They don't understand how a young woman was given the highest security clearance possible in S.H.I.E.L.D. They don't understand anything that's happened tonight. Daisy simply informs them to check the satellite footage, giving them the exact satellite, its make and information, knowing that it was perfectly placed to record the entire thing. They did indeed watch the footage, but had trouble believing what they were seeing. Nick Fury stood before a ranting Lucia and only smiled, and her confidence suddenly vanished when she realized something was wrong, at which point she dissolved into nothing. The energy dissipated while her body was destroyed, leaving only the technology that empowered her behind. Daisy was there to greet Nick Fury and apologized for being late, while the rest of the heroes and perhaps one surviving villain recovered. Daisy explains that she had been given powers due to genetic damage and tampering at the hands of her father. She is not a mutant in that she doesn't have the mutant genes, but is able to generate seismic waves with her body that resemble earthquakes. She is an expert at using her powers, such that she can aim them with such precision that it was easy to damage Lucia's power source, leading to the woman's quick death. Daisy points out that the weapon Lucia was using was the exact sort of thing Nick Fury was worried about in the first place, and why he conducted the Secret War to begin with. 6 hours before this, the heroes surround Nick Fury and Daisy, demanding answers. Cap demands that the truth be revealed, when the X-Men arrive, with a very angry Logan in tow. Nick explains to the gathered crowd that everything that happened in this attack was revenge for the Secret War, where Cap, Black Widow, Logan, Spider-Man, Daisy, Fury, Luke Cage, and Daredevil all got together to overthrow the Latverian government and assassinate its elected leader. A stunned group of superheroes learn how they were brought to this rogue country exactly 1 year ago. They fought their way through Castle Latveria, blasting through supervillain technology each were already familiar with, as they had all been used on American soil. The heroes confronted Lucia, and Nick Fury ordered Quake to level the entire castle from which Latveria had always been ruled. The superheroes were outraged at this news, both in the present but also back then, as hundreds of innocent people lost their lives in the ensuing chaos. Fury insists that he was right to do this, that she was and did attack America. But the heroes are still furious, especially knowing that Fury then proceeded to wipe out all their memories of the whole incident. The only reason Captain America remembers anything in the first place was due to some routine anti-brainwashing testing he went through a few months before as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. He recovered his memories back then and had already confronted Nick Fury about it shortly after. But as for Logan, who was already sensitive about his memories and mind being messed around with by government forces, as they have done so to him for decades. But also, he is specifically mad that Nick Fury did this, because Nick Fury knows his history about as well as anyone other than the X-Men. Wolverine is left inconsolable and points out he probably actually would have been fine with the entire Secret War if Nick Fury just had the courtesy not to mess around with his memories. As Logan repeatedly stabs Fury, the others try and hold him off. Daisy manages to stop him in a single blow, instantly exploding Logan's heart with a tremor. She threatens the others, pointing out she can do far more worse and permanent damage to each of them, and then contacts the real Nick Fury. The one standing before them is an artificial construct called a life model decoy. The real Nick Fury speaks to the gathered heroes over the radio and explains that he understands why they're mad, but reassures them all that this secret war has cost him his political career. No matter how much clout as a spy and soldier he may have earned over the years, he just conducted a crazy illegal war, and there's no coming back from that. They will never see or hear from him again. He also mentions that they are superheroes, real heroes, more than he will ever be. But maybe one day they will understand the world the way Fury does, and understand why he had to do what he did. Daisy thanks the still baffled heroes, saying she learned a lot from them, even though they don't remember teaching her. In the present day, the new head of S.H.I.E.L.D., a woman named Maria Hill, is outraged that Daisy has no idea where the real Nick Fury is hiding, but they have enough psychics to know she is telling the absolute truth. Hill rants at Daisy, saying that Fury's a war criminal now and forever, and kicks the young woman out of S.H.I.E.L.D. for good. Daisy decides she's okay with that, and figures she might want to go back and finish high school, to a completely unamused Maria Hill, who leaves. Quake gives one final, sad look at an image of Nick Fury, but as she prepares to leave the helicarrier, she is surprised, yet pleased, when she is contacted with new orders from a familiar voice.